Hi, family. Welcome to Feast on Torah. What does it take to rise from the cotton fields to becoming America's first self made female millionaire? What does it take? Well, it takes grit, vision, and faith in Yah. Madam C.J. Walker didn't inherit wealth, privilege, or approval. She built her legacy with her own two hands, driven by the belief that her Yah-given gifts were enough. This isn't just a history lesson, family. This is a reminder that your future isn't limited by your past, your surroundings, or people's opinions. If you have ever doubted your ability to become more, do more, and rise higher, then this story is for you. So let us dive into the life, legacy, and the unstoppable faith of Madam C.J. Walker. From the cotton fields of the Deep South to the boardrooms of American enterprise, Madam C.J. Walker proved that your beginning doesn't define your destiny. Born just 2 years after the end of slavery, she was orphaned, uneducated, and working as a laundress, but with her was a vision. Within her family was a vision far greater than her circumstances. She believed in something the world around her could not see, her Yah-given ability to rise, to build, and to lead. It is not just a story of success, it is a testimony that you can become whatever you put your mind to. Not because others say you can, but because Yah has already placed the seed of greatness within you. Your worth is not measured by people's opinions, but by the purpose planted inside of you. Now, Madam C.J. Walker was an entrepreneur, activist, and a philanthropist. Sarah Breedlove, later renowned as Madam C.J. Walker, was born on December 23, 1867, on the very plantation in Delta, Louisiana, where her parents, Owen and Minerva Anderson Breedlove, had once been enslaved prior to the end of the Civil War. Sarah Breedlove had 5 siblings, who included an older sister, Lavinia, and she also had 4 brothers, Alexandra, James, Solomon, and Owen Jr. Robert W. Burney enslaved her older siblings and parents on his Madison Parish plantation, and Sarah was the first child in her family born into freedom after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Her mother died in 1872, likely from cholera. An epidemic traveled with river passengers up to the Mississippi, reaching Tennessee and related areas in 1873. Her father remarried but died a year later. Orphaned at the age of 7, Sarah often remarked, and I quote, "I got my start by giving myself a start." So she started working as a child as a domestic servant. And another quote she gave was, "I had little or no opportunity when I started out in life, having been left an orphan and being without mother or father since I was 7 years of age." Unquote. Now, she and her older sister Lavinia endured by working in the cotton fields of the Delta and in nearby Vicksburg, Mississippi. At just 14 years old, she married Moses Mac Williams in an effort to escape the abuse of her harsh brother in law, Jesse Powell. Now, Sarah also stated that she had only 3 months of formal education. Think of that. Formal education, only 3 months worth, which she undertook during Sunday school literacy lessons at the church she attended during her earlier years. Now, she was born into a family of sharecroppers. She rose from humble beginnings as an uneducated farm worker and laundress to become one of the most successful self made women entrepreneurs of the 20th century. And she died in May 25th, 1919. Her only child, Aaliyah, later known as Aaliyah Walker, was born on June 6, 1885, after her husband's death 2 years later. Sarah relocated to St. Louis, where her four brothers had become established as barbers and earning as little as $1.50 a day. Can you imagine that? She worked hard and saved diligently to ensure her daughter could attend the city's public schools. And Sarah Walker herself moved to New York in 1916, leaving the day-to-day operations of the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company in Indianapolis to Ransom and Alice Kelly, her factory forelady and also a former school teacher. Now, she continued to oversee the business and to work in the New York office, once in Harlem. She quickly became involved in Harlem's social and political life, taking special interest in the NAACP's anti-lynching movement, to which she contributed $5,000. NAACP is an acronym for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It is the oldest and largest civil rights organization in the United States, and it was established in 1909 to advocate for the rights and equality of African Americans and other minority groups. So that's what she was involved in also. Now, Sarah Breedlove began her career as a sales agent for Annie Turnbow Malone, and that's with the hair care company in Denver, Colorado, selling hair care products to African American women. And later that year, she married Charles Joseph Walker, and with his encouragement, adopted the name Madam C.J. Walker for her own hair care products. Madam C.J. Walker is still revered today as the nation's first self-made female millionaire. By the 1900s, the Louisiana native gained notoriety for establishing herself as a pioneer of the modern black hair care and cosmetics industry. What an achievement. This marked the beginning of her journey toward becoming a self-made millionaire. Her marriage to Charles Joseph Walker in 1905 and her latest use of the name Madam C.J. Walker for her products was a significant turning point. Now, Walker's entrepreneurial spirit, coupled with her husband's support, allowed her to develop her own line of hair care products specifically designed for African American women, addressing the needs of her community. And she began by selling her products door to door, demonstrating her methods and training others in the business, and ultimately building a large marketing network and a successful company. As her wealth and influence increased, she became more vocal about her views, and in 1912 she addressed an annual gathering of the National Negro on Business League, which means NNBL, from the convention floor, where she declared in July 1912, and I quote, "I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there I was promoted to the wash tub. From there I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there I promoted myself into the business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations. I have built my own factory on my own ground." End of quote. There she's telling you. Now, the following year, Sarah Walker addressed convention goers from the podium as a keynote speaker, and in the 1890s she began experiencing a scalp condition that led to significant hair loss, severe dandruff, and other scalp ailments, including baldness, and due to skin disorders and the application of harsh products to cleanse her hair and wash clothes. Other contributing factors to her hair loss included poor diet, illnesses, and infrequent bathing and hair washing during a time when most Americans lacked indoor plumbing, central heating, and electricity. Now, seeking solutions, what did she do? She turned to her brothers, who were barbers, for advice. Yes, she turned to her brothers for advice, which is a good idea. Turn to family for advice. And she experimented with a range of homemade treatments and commercial hair products, including those created by Annie Malone, a fellow Black woman entrepreneur. And now in 1905, Sarah moved to Denver to work as a sales agent for Malone. And there she married her third husband, Charles Joseph Walker, a newspaperman from St. Louis. After adopting the name Madam C.J. Walker, she launched her own business and introduced Madam Walker's Wonderful Hair Grower, a scalp treatment and healing formula she claimed was revealed to her in a dream. And while she became widely known for her hair care innovations, it's important to note that Madam Walker did not invent the straightening comb or chemical hair perms, despite common misconceptions. Between 1911 and 1919, at the peak of her career, Madam C.J. Walker and her company employed thousands of women as sales agents for her hair care products, and by 1917, the company reported that it had trained nearly 20,000 women. What an achievement. While some accounts suggest that these agents wore uniforms consisting of white blouses, black skirts, and carried black satchels, there is no evidence in the Walker Beauty School manual to confirm this. Many agents reportedly sold products door to door, traveling across the United States and the Caribbean with tins of Walker's hair pomade and other items bearing her image. However, a more common scenario saw Walker Beauty cultured demonstrating the products in their homes or salons, where they had access to water, essential for showcasing how the products worked. Now, Walker keenly understood the importance of branding and advertising, and through extensive promotions in African American newspapers and magazines, along with her own frequent travels to endorse the products, she built a strong brand presence and became widely recognized across the country. And in July 1917, following the brutal massacre of over 3 dozen black residents by a white mob in East St. Louis, Illinois. Madam C.J. Walker joined a delegation of Harlem leaders who traveled to the White House to deliver a petition urging the federal government to enact anti-lynching legislation. Now, the public demonstration drew more than 8,000 African Americans to protest a riot in East St. Louis that killed 39 African Americans. Also, from 1917 until her death, Walker was a member of the Committee of Management of the Harlem YWCA, influencing the development of training in beauty skills to young women by the organization. And as her business flourished, she began organizing her sales agents into local and state chapters, and that same year she held the Madam C.J. Walker Hair Culturists Union of American Convention in Philadelphia, and one of the earliest known national gatherings of businesswomen in the United States. Now, the event served not only to celebrate her agents' business achievements, but also to inspire their political engagement. "This is the greatest country under the sun," she once remarked. She declared, "but we must not let our love of country, our patriotic loyalty, cause us to abate one with in our protest against wrong and justice." So she was all for justice, and this woman was very, very talented indeed. Although she came from a beginning that was not very positive. She went on to say, quote, "We should protest until the American sense of justice is so aroused that such affairs as the East St. Louis riot be forever impossible." Now, Madam C.J. Walker recognized the power of advertising and brand recognition in her business, and her widespread promotions, especially in African American newspapers and magazines, combined with her frequent travels to personally endorse her products, played a key role in making her a household name across the United States. And she impact extended far beyond sales. She provided Black women with training, not only in grooming and product knowledge, but she also groomed them and taught them also in financial literacy, budgeting, and business development, and empowering them to become self-sufficient and economically independent. And in 1917, drawing inspiration from the National Association of Colored Women, she began organizing her sales agents into state and local clubs. And this led to the founding of the National Beauty Culturist and Benevolent Association of Madam C.J. Walker Agents, the forerunner of what would later become the Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Culturist Union of America. The first annual conference of Madam C.J. Walker's organization took place in Philadelphia in the summer of 1917, drawing 200 attendees. And this gathering was one of the earliest national conventions of women entrepreneurs focused on business and commerce. And at the event, Sarah Walker presented awards to agents who achieved the highest sales and recruited the most new representatives. And she also honored those who had made significant charitable contributions with their communities. Although she died aged 51 years old on May 25, 1919, she was the first female self-made millionaire of any race in hair care products and business empire, and her legacy continued to grow. And by the 1920s, her name had become even more prominent as her company expanded its reach beyond the United States to international markets in Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Panama, and Costa Rica. Sarah Walker had a home also at 67 Broadway in Everington, New York, and she helped raise funds to establish a branch of the YMCA in Indianapolis, black community, and she pledged $1,000 to the building fund of the Senate Avenue YMCA. She also contributed scholarship funds to the Tuskegee Institute. What a contribution! Yes, she contributed to the Tuskegee Institute. And other beneficiaries, including Indianapolis Flanner House and Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, and Mary McLeod Bethune's Daytona Education and Industrial School for Negro girls, which later became Bethune. So the Negro Girls School, which later became Bethune Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida, and the Palmer Memorial Institute in North Carolina, and the Haynes Normal and Industrial Institute in Georgia. And Sarah Walker was also a patron of the arts. Very, very talented and very gifted woman. A museum devoted to Walker, as well as historic radio station WERD, established itself on the site of former Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Shop in Atlanta. And profits from her business significantly impacted Walker's contributions to her political and her philanthropic interest. In 1918, the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs, which is NACWC, honored her for making the largest individual contribution to help preserve Frederick Douglass Anacostia House. Now, before Walker died in 1919, she pledged 5,000, the equivalent of about $88,000 in 2023 to the NAACP, the Anti-Lynching Fund. And at the time, it was the largest gift from an individual that the NAACP had ever received. And Walker bequeathed nearly $100,000 to orphanages, institutions, and individuals. And her will directed 2/3 of future net profits of her estate to charity. What a lady. Yet, this powerful, talented, gifted woman is buried for us not to see, because the narrative is that people who are melanated people are dumb, they're not very bright, not educated, and the rest, less than. And here we see this woman. Look at her beginning and look what she's achieved so far. She did not let her past and how she came into this world define how she would live out her future. And Madam C.J. Walker attributed her rise from poverty to success to a combination of unwavering determination, faith in both herself and in the Most High Yah, the quality of her products, and a commitment to honest business dealings. These were the core principles she shared with aspiring entrepreneurs who sought the secret to her achievements. And if young people out there are listening, you don't have to stab someone in the back to move forward. All we need to do good business is integrity and wisdom from the Most High. And here we see it being demonstrated in Madam C.J. Walker's life. She once quoted also, and she said, "There is no royal flower-strewn path to success. And if there is, I have not found it. For if I have accomplished anything in life, it is because I have been willing to work hard." That's a lesson for some of us today. We can just sit and expect things to turn up. She worked hard and she used the talents that she was blessed with, and she came from poverty to be a millionaire. And inside of that, she also acted in total integrity. As we saw the quote earlier, Madam C.J. Walker once said, "I got my start by giving myself a start." She didn't wait for permission. She didn't beg for validation. She trusted in the gifts Yah gave her and built an empire that changed lives across generations. She didn't build a business, she built a legacy. From washing clothes from $1.50 a week to becoming America's first female self-made millionaire. Her story is a reminder, family, that perseverance, vision, and purpose can break through any barrier. So if you are building something from the ground up, remember, just like Madam Walker, your beginnings don't define your destiny. If you're building something from the ground up, family, I repeat, remember that just like Madam Walker, your beginnings don't define your destiny. So, whatever you are today, wherever you are today, whatever odds are stacked against you, remember this: you don't need approval to be great. You don't need applause to start. You only need faith, perseverance, and the courage to believe in Yah's purpose for your life. For this lesson, I just want to remind you, I used information from several trusted sources to ensure historical accuracy and depth. And the link will be in the description of the video, okay? These resources provided valuable insights into the life, legacy, and impact of Madam C.J. Walker. If your journey inspired her, if her journey has inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of hidden history and faith-fueled resilience. So, family, rise, dream boldly, and work diligently, because your success is already within you. Let me repeat, your success is already within you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay encouraged, keep pressing forward. Shalom.